Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé that if he expects me to contribute 50-50, we have to make some serious lifestyle changes? Original post. My 26 female fiancé, 26 male, sat me down yesterday and gave me a long talk about how he feels like I don't contribute enough to the household, particularly in the financial sense. I was a bit caught off guard by this, but was willing to hear him out, since he wasn't wrong. He makes a lot more than I do, and we've always split bills accordingly, which ends up being about 80% him. I asked what he wanted me to pay now, and he was adamant about it being 50-50. I asked if everything was okay with his job, or if he needed to take fewer hours, and he wouldn't answer me. I honestly wouldn't have gotten upset if there seemed like an actual reason behind it. But he just said he'd been thinking about it a lot, over and over, every time I asked what brought him to this conclusion, what was going on. And eventually he just said, "This is how it's going to be. Take it or leave it." Those exact words, in response to literally everything I said. Full shutdown. No explanations. I told him that was fine, I'll take it, and then asked if he'd made a Zillow account yet or expected me to. He looked confused and asked why would we need a Zillow account. I explained that there is no way I can afford half rent in our current place, so we'll probably have to move into a one-bedroom apartment. He got mad and asked why I didn't have savings. I told him that I do, but I'm not paying rent out of my savings because that's a terrible and unsustainable idea. I also began to go over what our new food budget would be, our new entertainment budget, and that would probably have to sell the cars and get one less expensive one because I can't afford half of the payment on an Audi and a Land Rover. Then I explained that date nights would probably have to be reduced too, and we could still do like Buffalo Wild Wings or something, but I preferred Thursday nights because you get 2 orders of boneless wings for one. Basically, if he wants me to pay half, we're living within my means, not his anymore. He kind of agreed to it, but since then he's been incredibly angry. He's not saying or doing anything, but it's like he's walking around the house in this cloud of anger. I sent him 6 Zillow listings, all of which he's called uninhabitable for various reasons, some of which I think were valid, others I disagree with. He's now saying that I'm being unfair and manipulative, and that he tried to come to me with a serious concern about our relationship, that I'm making it impossible for him to talk to me, and bulldozing over him. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole at all, and you are making perfect sense in my mind. If he wants 50-50, he needs to understand that your income is the limiting agent in this reaction. It does sound like he has something else going on, but I would mentally prepare for him to call the wedding off. This sounds like he is coming up with reasons to get rid of you in his mind, but he does not want to come off as the bad guy. Spot on. Also, the way he shut down any type of communication and got mad when she accepted and made changes that should benefit them both, seeing as he is the one who made a complaint, is sketchy. I would hold off on this wedding. Not the a-hole. Is he trying to break up with you and he wants you to pull the plug? That was my first thought. He wanted to be able to make her the bad guy by casting her as a materialistic gold digger. Now he's in a position where she accepted his ultimatum, and he needs to admit he is the materialistic one. Leave this a-hole, because you're clearly in the right. I'm sorry you've been treated this way. My husband would never do this. He obviously doesn't genuinely care for you. Not the a-hole. I really loved your style. You thought he had a gold digger, and you flipped the script pretty well. This was awesome. Next question though. You seem like such an intelligent and decent person. Why are you with such an ignorant and self-centered prick? I'm wondering whether he's throwing this up so that Opie breaks up with him. Then he can call her a gold digger. Opie reasonably suggested logical options. Now for the update. Hi everyone. This got way bigger than intended, so I figured a follow-up was owed. So, last time I posted was Monday. Monday as a whole was spent just sorting through what I felt and what to do next. There was a lot of silence and a lot of anger and a lot of Reddit advice, some of which I found very insightful, some of which was less so. Also, some people think I made this up as a part of a viral marketing sponsorship between Buffalo Wild Wings, Audi, and Zillow, which honestly would solve the money problems if true, but alas, it's not the case. On Tuesday after I got home from work, I sort of just walked up to him on the elliptical and explained as calmly as I could that I had questions, and if he actually wanted to marry me, he needed to be willing to answer them. I asked if he thought I was a gold digger, yes or no. He said yes. I told him that I wasn't willing to be in a relationship where I have to prove myself by sacrificing any sort of stability, and that led to a bit of a screaming match and eventually a confession. So it turns out we cannot afford anything we have right now. We are in a serious credit card debt. The cars are both on the verge of being repossessed, and I did not know about any of this. He's been cutting corners on actual necessities, including psychiatric medication. That, in combination with some comments from his family, led him to some pretty dark places. My fiancé had a full breakdown and apologized for calling me a gold digger, which was nice to hear, but this whole thing had me pretty shaken up, so I went to stay with a friend for a little bit. Yesterday, my fiancé and I did in fact go out to Buffalo Wild Wings and get the 2-for-1 boneless. We talked a lot. I'm still riding fiancé for now, and I really hope we can work through all of this. We talked about how to sell the cars. We don't particularly have a choice at this point. And about my income, his income, and the sort of life we want to have. If we do stay together, we'll be changing how we live a lot. We need to get out of debt. We need to get on our feet. I know some people are gonna say I'm being dumb for not immediately dropping all contact and giving up on the relationship, but I can't do that. I can't look at the guy I love, who went off his meds to try and make a good life for me, and think he's not worth sticking around for, at least to try. I don't know what the future looks like at all anymore though, and the wedding is very postponed at the moment. Sorry this wasn't a more fun update. Watch your credit like a home slice. Yeah, eventually he may start taking debts in her name. My dad did this back while I was in high school. Forged my mom's signature on a number of loans to try and keep us afloat while his business failed. And went off his heart and depression meds too, as he started doing sketchier and sketchier things to try and right the ship. As you can imagine, it did not end well. My wife's ex-husband did this. Said he graduated college when in fact he did not. Did just enough to qualify for max student loans and pretended the money was from a low-paying job. Co-signed more loans by forging her signature. On top of other sketchy things he did, he had the audacity to destroy her home when she wanted a divorce, and even kidnapped her dog. People are weird. Edit? Some other crazy stuff. He ripped out all of the HVAC ducts and insulation in the attic and put the AC as low as it could go, tied all the blind cords and nuts so the blinds were not functional, packed up the entire house in a U-Haul while she was at work, and literally took everything she owned. Disconnected all the plugs and switches, so no plugs or switches worked. A few other things I don't remember, but those are the big ones. After everything, all she wanted was her dog. She told him to keep everything else if he wanted it. Did she get the dog back? Yes, we currently have the happy, healthy 15-year-old dog. This happened back in like 2011-ish. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that I won't be replacing my car? I, male 48, grew up in a low-income family. My parents worked very hard to provide for me and my siblings, and while we were always well-fed and clothed, we definitely felt our economic situation growing up. Because of this, I feel that I am financially wise, and I tried to live a bit frugally when possible, despite making a very good income. For the past year, I have come under increasing pressure from my wife, female 46, and our 3 kids, female 19, male 15, female 13, to replace my old car. For reference, I drive a 2008 Hyundai Sonata with almost 200,000 miles. While cosmetically the car has a few scratches and dings, mechanically it is essentially in perfect condition and costs very little to operate. My wife and kids, however, view the car as a source of family shame. They continually point out how it looks completely out of place in our area, and that considering my income, I should be driving something far nicer. I've always maintained with my children that they shouldn't place too much emphasis on material things, and that people should be investing in more important aspects of life. But I feel that these messages are partially ignored. Last week, my eldest daughter borrowed a car to hang out with her friends and mentioned to me how they joked about how outdated her dad's car is. I told her that she shouldn't worry too much about what other people think and that we should be grateful that a car works. However, she told me that this was irrelevant in our particular context, since all her friends arrived in much nicer cars, and since we live in a nice area. Last night, my wife and I planned on attending a social event with some of our friends and coworkers. As I was grabbing my keys, my wife stopped me and told me that we would be taking her car since mine had become too embarrassing. During the drive, she told me I was being unreasonable for holding onto my car for so long that I needed to get rid of it. She mentioned that I should consider that our youngest daughter just started high school and that she might feel uncomfortable getting dropped off and picked up in a car in front of her peers. My wife then went on to say how people within our own social circle found it odd for me to drive such a car, and brought up how many friends and coworkers have made jokes about a car in the past. I told her that I wasn't going to replace my car since it worked fine and getting a new one would be an unnecessary expense. I mentioned how it was an important lesson for our kids to learn, but she then accused me of being stubborn and stingy. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole, but you live with a bunch of shallow, superficial, wasteful people. Drive that car until the next kid needs a car and then pass it down to her. Buy yourself a newer used car that can be passed down to the next kid. Appreciation is learned. Retirement is expensive. I was going to say the same thing. I went back to school in my 30s, and my 11-year-old understands that I can have a newer car and less money for fun and allowance, or we can keep my older car until it goes to car heaven. OP's kids seem kinda spoiled, to be honest. If they knew what it was like to have to walk, bicycle, and take public transportation all the time, they wouldn't give a crap what kind of car they had, or if they had to pay for it themselves. Not the a-hole. You don't need to be frugal to want to have more money in today's economy. It's smart. Not the a-hole. If you are comfortable in your car and they are comfortable in their car, then they don't need to worry about what you are driving. Being so concerned about the opinions of others is rarely a helpful thing. However, you may want to consider how safe your current vehicle is. Are the airbags still good? Does it have appropriate and updated safety features? I would consider replacing it more for safety reasons and less for appearance reasons. Thanks for the feedback. I had a car safety tested back in March, and all its safety systems are working normally. Also, its emissions are normal. That the safety features it has are working properly certainly is a good thing. But the other thing to consider is just how much safety features have advanced in 15 years. Think lane departure warning, auto braking, side window airbags, knee airbags, etc. The safety features of today are a lot different. Source: have a 2007 car, and recently-ish bought a 2019 car. We need 2 cars, but can't afford to replace the 2007 just yet. But if we had a means, we would for a newer used car that has better safety features. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my 28 male girlfriend, 25 female, that she went too far in messing with her sister? My girlfriend is low contact with her parents and older sister. She has a difficult relationship with them as she felt bullied by her sister Cora, 31 female, growing up. Her mother was frequently ill and depressed, and her father traveled for work for months at a time. They were kinda poor, so Cora did multiple jobs since her teens. It was controlling and domineering with her siblings about chores and schoolwork. My girlfriend has a lot of resentment about her unpleasant childhood and has pushed back by sabotaging things for Cora in silly and petty ways. Cora got married to her boyfriend of 3 years about 6 months ago. My girlfriend flew over to attend, but did act bratty to mess with Cora. It was mostly minor stuff, like not confirming travel plans till last minute, so Cora was forced to pay more for plane tickets. Changing her mind about her dress frequently, so Cora had to buy and return outfits multiple times. There were a few other things too, like messing with some organized plans and refusing to do things she committed to. I don't really like it or understand it, but she feels it's important for such payback to bring a balance to her relationship with her sister. Where I feel she went too far is that the night before the wedding, she had a long talk with the groom about how difficult and short-tempered Cora can be. He has a kid, 6 male, from his previous marriage, and she knew they were planning on having more kids right after they got married. She told him that Cora hates little children and will bully them. The newlyweds ended up having a lot of fights over their honeymoon because the groom wanted to postpone having kids and change how much involvement Cora would have with her stepkid. Cora found out recently that the conflicts are because her sister had this talk with her husband, and she's been blowing up at my girlfriend. She feels upset at my girlfriend's interference because she wanted to have kids soon, and my girlfriend feels justified because she's convinced Cora would be an awful mother. I told her that it wasn't right for her to meddle in her sister's marriage, just to mess with her, but she feels that nothing she said is untrue, so she was morally right to do so. We have been having arguments about this, and my girlfriend is now mad at me. Edited to add, I've been asked this multiple times. So Cora is the oldest. Their parents had separated after she was born, then got back together a few years later and had 3 more kids one after another. My girlfriend is the second oldest. The youngest two are close to both my girlfriend and Cora, and ignored a conflict between the two. Cora did different short-term jobs for extra money before she got her full-time job. She didn't do 2+ jobs at the same time. Not the a-hole. Based on this and your girlfriend being mad, you better run. In your post, you say your girlfriend is mad because growing up, their mother was ill and depressed and the father was not around due to work, leaving them in a poor condition, requiring Cora as a teen to have to work jobs helping with the home, and got on your girlfriend about chores and schoolwork. So by being forced to parent her siblings as a teen and being tough about homework and chores, girlfriend feels justified in sabotaging her sister? It sounds more ungrateful than anything. Your girlfriend needs serious anger management and general therapy. None of this is healthy nor acceptable. She says she just spoke the truth to her new brother-in-law. But when you go in with an agenda, there is a lot left for you. Your girlfriend will not change unless she gets therapy, and she does not seem to think she has a problem. So likely, she won't seek the help, and you need to think about yourself with this woman. Good luck. Right, Cora raised her, and Opie's girlfriend is being a little turd. She should maintain no contact for their sake. We all know not the a-hole, but girlfriend is and needs to get over herself. Ask yourself, Opie, is this really the type of immature person you want to be with? What makes your girlfriend think she's better prepared to mom than Cora, who actually has been a parent/mom to her siblings? Plus, all the other things she did to mess with the wedding, not bothering to disclose travel plans, insisting on multiple unnecessary wardrobe changes, refusing to honor commitments, etc. are not minor things. They are things that put undue stress on an already stressful process. Your girlfriend is a self-absorbed mess. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend is not a good person. I'm surprised the groom even took her remarks seriously, because someone who would have behaved that way and say those things at a sibling's wedding is clearly unhinged. Quit making excuses for this woman. You say you haven't even known her a year, so your investment here is still relatively low. Am I the a-hole for asking my fiancé to skip this year's Christmas family vacation because our baby's due? Plus updates. Original post. Context: I've gone to Florida with his family for the past 5 years for at least part of Christmas. Every other year, I return before him to spend Christmas Day with my family. This year is the first time in a long time that all the other siblings are able to overlap dates. My fiancé has major FOMO, which is why this is a sensitive subject. His parents have always been weird about keeping their family close. They've never said it outright, but little things suggest they don't consider me completely part of their family yet, since we aren't married. Also, my parents are away overseas dealing with a grandparent emergency. My mom has been kept in the loop though, and is trying to come back as soon as she can. My fiancé and I, 31 male and 31 female, are expecting our first baby due December 30th. His family has a vacation home in Florida, and they have gone every year during the holidays for about a month until after New Year. He agreed not to go this year because of the baby, but his family's insisting that he go and come back on the 28th, which is ample time before the baby is due. So he bought a ticket for December 15th to 28th. His reasoning is that his parents really want him there and his siblings will also be going. This is bothering me a lot more than I thought, because I know pregnancies are unpredictable, especially the last trimester, and if anything happens leading up to the due date, I need him there. My parents are away until December 26th, and my friends have their families, so I will be completely alone. The other reason, and I guess it's more selfish, is that I will be spending Christmas by myself. It's not the main reason why I'm bothered, but it's a small part of it. He's been spending Christmas every year in Florida since he was 15, and there will be many more trips after the baby is born. I don't know why he has to go this year. Anytime I bring it up, it results in a very uncomfortable fight about my expectations to put me first rather than his parents. I don't even bring it up anymore. His parents have always been kind to me, but they also don't see any problem. So I think I'm going crazy? Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. Your husband is a fool if he goes. This is your first baby. You do not know if the baby will be here early, on time, or late. His family is you and the baby. If his family can't see that, that's another issue. None of them have a crystal ball and know when that baby is coming. Personally, I would also be pointing out how quickly things can go wrong for mom or bubs during labor. I'm disgusted with him for thinking this is okay to leave his vulnerable wife during that time. You just don't know what's going to happen. And what's with not wanting to spend Christmas with you? Leaving you completely alone. Not cool. I'm furious for you. Where are you? I will come and take care of you. Your husband's a fool. Thankfully, it's her fiancé. No paperwork involved yet. I'd be looking for a lawyer to handle child support and a parenting arrangement. I'm sure she can make a few calls while he's away. Hate to be all Reddit about this, but this would be a reason for me to dump him immediately. He's going to leave his heavily pregnant partner alone at Christmas because his family really wants him to be at their yearly holiday? He's such an a-hole, and a terrible partner and father to boot, for even suggesting this, let alone fighting her on this. He's going to be hard to co-parent with, but maybe he won't even fight for custody? Oh, he's going to fight for at least partial custody. How else can he cart the kid around to his family events and play the sorry single father? This is so unforgivable. Even the fighting leading up to the trip is enough in my opinion. So unforgivable. I don't see how he could possibly be a good partner or father based on the fact that he sees nothing wrong with this and is arguing with her about it. If it wasn't for the health risks, OP is absolutely not selfish for not wanting to be alone on Christmas. And it's insane she'd think so. I hope she tells her friends, because if I was one of them, I would absolutely be making her a part of my family Christmas. Now for the update number 1. I'm sorry for not updating sooner. Everything has been overwhelming and I'm trying to deal with a lot. The good news is that my mom arrived home yesterday. When I had explained everything to her, her sister, who is a retired nurse, insisted she come too. I'm so thankful to have them here. It's hard to get my feelings across as there's a bit of cultural barrier. My mom is from Hong Kong, and without getting into details, the grandparent situation was very much an emergency. But she has siblings and my dad who is staying there at the moment. As for my fiancé, I scheduled a virtual appointment with him and my OBGYN to update her and told her this whole situation. Like all of you, she was appalled and strongly recommended he not travel during this time. Her words were, "In my professional opinion, I'm going to very strongly recommend you reconsider your plans. In my personal opinion, I'm going to insist it." It was probably on me for not alerting her sooner about his travel plans. After that, he is still going but adjusting his date so he will be back on the 22nd. There will be 1 day overlap with his siblings. His mom isn't too happy he won't be there for Christmas. She suggested he fly back later on the 25th instead, so he can spend a part of Christmas Day with them, but he said no. It's still not ideal for me. My mom and aunt has insisted to speak with his parents, so we've scheduled a call with them later today. I reached out to my best friend too about this, after I read some of your responses and PMs. She was livid, and informed her husband that she doesn't care if it's on Christmas Day. If I go into labor, she will drop everything and be there. She's also been kept up to date about who will be with me while he is away and will be visiting. I know there were a lot of questions regarding the family, but I can't address all of them. It's too much to write out. Yes, I know they don't treat me completely as family. There have always been small passive-aggressive things that bothered me, like not being invited to Mother's/Father's Day events, left out of family secret Santa, not being allowed to sleep in the same room when we visit, etc. Yes, I know that his mother must be aware that he shouldn't be leaving me at 37 weeks. She's not dumb, and I update her after all my appointments, so I know she knows this too. I don't know why she's saying it's okay, but I have an idea why. My mom has made it clear she will be addressing all of this in a call. Some of you wondered how they can afford to go to Florida for a month. His parents are retired and snowbird there. His siblings and sister-in-law all have 9-to-5 jobs, but are partly remote, so they're lucky enough to take their work to Florida and work there. My fiancé is a gig worker, so he dictates his own schedule. Obviously, their schedules don't always line. I haven't shown him this thread yet. At the moment, it's just one more thing I don't want to deal with him. I may in the future, but I have suggested we go to therapy before we set a wedding date. He agreed. I'm also seeking counseling for myself. Lastly, I'm incredibly grateful to all of you who took time to respond, offered to visit me and bring me food. I've never posted on Reddit before, but I appreciate the support you've all shown me. Once again, thank you all so much. I'll try to update again after the baby comes. It might be a while, but please know that I'm safe and have lots of love surrounding me. Please have a safe and happy holidays. Also, I'm expecting a girl. Now for the second update. Happy holidays, everyone. I know some of you were asking for an update, so here it goes. Baby girl was born on December 20th at 6 pounds 10 ounces at 9:42 p.m. My mom, aunt, and best friend were there during labor. My mom was present during birth. She's healthy and we're all exhausted, but I'm so grateful for my support system. My now ex-fiancé did not make it for the birth. During the video call with his mother, my mom told her that he needs to come back immediately. Otherwise, she will be taking me home and they will not be welcome to visit the baby. It was a very heated call, but the outcome was that my mom and aunt packed up my things and we went back to my parents' house where I currently am still residing. So, you can guess what happened there. It hurt a lot. I had a very upsetting call with him about his priorities now that we were literally down to the wire, and the conversation ended without much resolution. He hung up on me. I messaged him after our daughter was born to let him know I had given birth and that she was healthy. I tried to video call a lot after that, but I didn't pick up. He returned home on the 22nd as planned. Of course, I wasn't at a condo. I think they all thought my mom was bluffing. He tried to come by my parents' house many times, and at one point, sat outside in his car for hours when my mom and aunt wouldn't let him in. Finally, on Christmas Day, we let him see his daughter, and he and I discussed our future. My mom and aunt have been very vocal about breaking off the engagement, and I agreed that after the call with his parents, I didn't want to be involved with a family who was so selfish. He told me his mother was very insistent to go on this trip, to show his family that he wanted to mend his relationships with them, and that his sister-in-law had been saying some awful things about me to him and his parents. I told her some things in confidence a couple years ago about some issues I was having with him, and she turned it around on me. This was the nail in the coffin. I can't possibly marry into a family this toxic. So as it stands now, I have broken off the engagement and will live at my parents' house. We have scheduled couples therapy and our first session is tomorrow. He has apologized profusely and asked to stay with me to help with his daughter. My mom doesn't want him sleeping here, so he's been coming by in the morning to help with her and then leaving in the evening. His parents have told him that they would like to see our daughter as soon as they come back, and he has video chatted with them once to show our daughter to them. That's basically where we stand now. And undoubtedly the situation will get more complicated once his parents come back, but I can't think about that right now. My baby girl is healthy and has a nursery set up in my childhood bedroom. She's surrounded by people who would give her the world. My aunt, who I haven't seen since I was 10, is here. Those are the positive things I'm focusing on. Last story. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I would choose my mom over the birth of our baby? Original post. So, to get started, I am 36 male and my wife is 33 female. We are expecting our first child soon. My mother, who is 70, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and has been hospitalized since it is so bad doctors say she will not survive since treatments aren't working well on her. My dad died when I was young, and my mom took care of me while working 2 jobs so that I could have a good life. I feel I owe everything to my mother. I bought her a house and whatever she needed so that she could live her older years well, since we had to struggle so much. When I got home from work and visiting my mom, my wife and I were talking and she asked if you got a call that I was in labor or your mom was going to die, who would you pick? I told her I would pick my mom. She asked why, and I told her that I wanted to be there to say goodbye to my mom since I would never see her again, and so she would have somebody there in her final moments. She got mad and said, what about her and our baby? I told her I would try to be there as fast as I could after my mom, but that most likely wouldn't happen, so I told her not to worry about it. She was still mad and told me to get out of the house. I left, and now I'm at my mom's house. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit, to everyone saying that I would be leaving her alone, no, I wouldn't. She would have her mom there. She has said she wanted her mom there with her. Yes, I was right for leaving my house. It was either I leave or she go, and I was not about to put my pregnant wife out of our house. Yes, I have been there for her. I've taken off work to comfort and help her in any way she needs during this pregnancy. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not a-hole. Stupid question. Yes, there is absolutely no way to win there, because the intent wasn't to actually plan for the contingency, which would have been smart by the way. So not a-hole. She somehow heard you care more about others than you and your baby, when the situations can't be compared. If you make up, you should actually have a plan with someone to take your place with them and video call if it happens. And also talk to your future pediatrician about how to be safe in letting your baby meet his or her grandma as soon as possible in a safe way. Getting professional photos of them together and all of you as a family would be worth looking into. Your kid will definitely appreciate them when they are grown up. Honestly, why did she even ask that type of question? It's impossible to answer a question like that. She's such an a-hole to even ask him to choose between his dying mother and his pregnant wife. My wife is a loving, intelligent, rational, and considerate woman. But pregnancy can easily turn someone into an estrogen Molotov cocktail. Giving OP his wife the benefit of the doubt, I'd say it's likely that has caught him so off guard, because this is completely out of left field for her to say, and is just super confused. I guarantee that my wife would understand if we role-played this scenario. That doesn't mean she'd have the same reaction when she had 6 gallons of extra hormones, and a little alien kicking her in the lungs. Estrogen Molotov cocktail is right, lol. My normal self, I'd probably be making a contingency plan in OP's wife's place. While pregnant, I'm not sure I would have been so rational about it. The idea of giving birth alone is scary. I can't fault either of them here. It's a really difficult situation. No a-holes here. Your wife is probably scared.
I almost died in labor, as did our child. It isn't as clear-cut as deathbed trumps new birth, because childbirth can be a deathbed too. Have a clear, laid-out plan with a backup as well, in case option 1 is busy or out of town, so that she knows she isn't alone. Make sure you are always contactable. Your mother might be totally unconscious at the end, so you can still be on the phone with your wife while she's in labor, even while her mom or whomever is with her. Decide on options. Make sure everybody involved knows exactly what is happening. Make sure your mom knows what is happening. She might not want you there. Not everyone does. She might be appalled that you'd pick her over the birth of your child. And update them as time gets closer. Feelings change, especially those of your mother. She might get scared and change her mind. I will never forget the moment standing between 2 tables, one with my wife excessively bleeding after an emergency C-section, the other with my son coming out not breathing, still waiting to hear a cry, realizing I may very well be returning home by myself to take care of our daughter. Still getting choked up just writing that out. Thank God they're both okay, and my silly healthy 2-year-old son woke me up at 6 a.m. on New Year's Day. Mini update. I keep getting the same question about why did I leave my house even though I may own the house. It was late, and I didn't want my pregnant wife out late at night, but she told me to leave, so I knew it was either me or her. 2. My mother is in the hospital. She is not at her house. 3. I thought a lot about what a lot of you said about how I should put her first, but she doesn't put me first at all. She chooses her sisters over me all the time. 4th, I do not make her feel second. I have put my wife first, especially in emergencies, and I have tried my best to comfort her. I have gone home, and now I'm thinking I don't need to apologize, y'all. I really don't know. Thanks to everyone who's commented. Now for the full update. Hello again, people of Reddit. Some of you asked for an update, so here it is. I went back home yesterday afternoon. She wasn't there, and I assumed she was at her mom's house. She came back in the evening, and we had a talk about what happened. She did apologize for asking the question, and that when she thought about it, and she understood my answer because she would do the same. I asked her why she asked, and she said she didn't know, and thought I was going to pick her since I normally do. I kinda just said okay and moved on. I did tell her I want marriage counseling after or even before the baby's born. She asked why. I told her how I felt and she denied it, so I had to give her proof. Then she started crying and got mad and told me to sleep in the guest room instead of kicking me out. So I guess I got a win there. Anyways, she also told me that she no longer wanted me in the delivery room, which I was fine with. I understand to an extent where it's coming from. I will go into therapy, which was suggested, and I think I do need it. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for the advice you all gave. Some good and bad advice. I'm sorry if my comments came off as mean. I'm not really a friendly person till you know me, especially if you're accusing me of something. Edit. Y'all, the proof I showed her was messages of when she said she felt unimportant and when I felt unimportant. I would never, and I mean never, show her anything on here. She would have a mental breakdown. So she got mad at the suggestion of marriage counseling and put you on a couch? Am I reading that right? If so, my guy, you've got a lifetime of marital problems ahead of you. Hopefully you get a good therapist who can help you learn how to handle how ridiculously unreasonable your wife is. She's still not done with you, and now she's punishing you by not allowing you to attend the birth of your own child. She's got it bad. Attacking him for his feelings makes her a genuine piece of crap. Am I the a-hole for giving my stepson a 20-minute time limit to return my car before I phone the police? Plus update. Original post. This happened last night and I'm extremely annoyed. I am a 34 female doctor and part of my job entails being on call for 1 to 3 nights a week, twice a month. My fiancé Dale 30 male has been saving, with my stepson's mom, to buy him a car for Christmas. My stepson Rex 16 male has a license already but always has to borrow his mom's station wagon or his dad's beat-up pickup truck. His mom's car is lame and embarrassing and his dad's can only hold 1 passenger. Not practical for a teen. On to the main conflict. Rex texted me yesterday around 12 if he could borrow my car after school. His friends wanted to go to the mall but the bus route is too long, so could they borrow my car? I texted back a, sorry but no, I'm on call again. Can you ask your mom? He says no. I told him, sorry but my answer is still no. I'm sure you will find a solution. Ask your friends and you can all figure it out. If you see where this is going, you are less shocked than I am. I was up in my home office, the room where I keep my switch, sewing machine, and laptop, so not an official office, when I heard Rex and his friends downstairs after school. I was going to see if they needed anything, but they left after a few minutes. An hour later, I went to the kitchen, cleaning up the empty bottles and wrappers from their snacks. Then I saw the spot where I left my keys empty. I began to panic. First, I bolted to the door and my car was gone. Immediately dialed my stepson. He picks up and it's obvious he's in a mall store that plays loud music. I told him to get himself home now, and he laughed and said that I am not his mom, that he'll be home whenever he pleases. I'm not proud, but I told him that he has 20 minutes to get home or I'll call the police and report it stolen. Rex panics and said he couldn't find all his friends and drive home in 20 minutes. Told him tough luck. 10 minutes later, I get a text that he is at a mall parking lot and will be home soon. I phoned Rex's mom and informed her of his stunt. She was madder than me when I told her that I was on call. She apologized and promised to talk with Rex and Dale ASAP. Then Rex came in, threw me my keys and locked himself in his room. Dale finally came home around 8 and he said he had been on the phone with his ex. He demanded to know why I punished his son. I put my foot down and explained I am on call. That means I need my car. And Rex stole my car. Dale disagrees. His ex agrees with me and decided she will not be buying Rex a car anytime soon due to his entitlement. Dale thinks I am making a big deal out of nothing. I didn't end up going into work, so why did I have to threaten Rex? I've only gone in twice this year while on call. But just because nothing happens doesn't mean that I'm always clear. Rex is now grounded. Fiancé barely speaks to me but asks me when I'm going in today. I'm not, and if I will apologize. I am still not budging and I'm still angry he doesn't get it. Am I the a-hole? Editing because it came up in the comments. Yes, Dale was 14 when Rex was born. Don't get hung up on this. It isn't about teen parents. Rex's mom was 15 when they had him and is the best mom if you ask me. She's who introduced me to Dale. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Rex took your car even after you said no, and Dale is okay with that? Teenagers need boundaries and rules, and parents need to enforce those. Dale is the a-hole and is setting Rex up to be one too. Rex owes you an apology, not the other way around. He demanded to know why I punished his son. Agreed that Dale is the a-hole while Opie's not the a-hole. Opie didn't even punish his kid. She simply demanded that he return the property that he stole. The son rudely refused, so Opie had no choice but to let him know that there would be consequences for his actions if he didn't return the car. Dale's completely off base if he thinks his son did nothing wrong, and that Opie should apologize. Even the ex thinks he is being 100% unreasonable. What would Opie even be apologizing for? Opie's fiancé is just telling his son that he co-signs his theft/disrespect of Opie. It's like he thinks that just because Opie didn't end up having to go in it should be okay for this kid to commit grand theft auto? Clearly, he has little respect for how being in an on-call job works. Not a-hole. Your stepson is clearly entitled because he did steal your car. He even had another option, but it wasn't cool enough? Anything so little of you, it wasn't even of consequence in his mind to take your car and then throw the keys at you afterward. The threat of calling the cops was a perfect response because it seemed to be the first time he was shown that his actions have consequences. Your fiancé? That's even worse. He damn well knows better what an on-call is. And regardless of that, you saying no means no. Why is not a question. If you don't want him to take your car, he should respect that. Your fiancé playing this off is a huge problem because it excuses your stepson's behavior. This is a relationship-ending problem. Do not budge though, or his behavior will get worse. I got my driver's license before all of my friends in high school. My mom graciously let me drive her minivan most times after I asked. At first, I was embarrassed because it was a big, bulky Toyota Sienna, but my friends didn't care. It just means that more people could ride. It also helped that the stereo system had amazing bass. WTF? Your fiancé is a walking red flag. He's a terrible parent and he doesn't even realize it. Stealing a car is a big deal. This is not a gray area. No offense, but you're a doctor. You have your act together. You can do better than a man who expects you to apologize when his son commits a felony. Life is too short to be married to a crappy parent. I won't even date someone who doesn't raise a dog up to a certain standards, much less a parent of a human being. This isn't a harmless prank either. Even if Opie was a stay-at-home mom, taking a vehicle without permission is at least a $10,000 to $25,000 item that they may not want a potentially uninsured teenager driving. Some people aren't even comfortable letting their friends drive their vehicles. The entitlement this teen has could ruin his own life. I'm military, and a lot of the senior generation NCOs who were teens in the 80s committed crimes like this and were given an option: lengthy jail sentence or serve a stint in the army.
My favorite master surgeon stole a car at 18 and chose the army. He now has a daughter graduated from West Point and he retired to work at Raytheon on top secret missile projects. Kids these days aren't given second chances like this anymore. It could stay with him forever. Edit/update. Now I can see why my friend told me the sub can be a little much. I'm very thankful for these responses, but I think I'm going to leave the comments now and have a very frank discussion with Dale tonight. Rex is with his mom, so he won't be in the middle or get involved. Kid still wouldn't look at me and called me a witch who won't let him get his own car now. Now for the full update. So apparently Dale reads through the subreddits on his work breaks. He texted me a link to my post during his dinner break. A short time later, I first received a call from Rex's mom who said that Dale called her and ranted about how I made him look bad online. She told him that she didn't care because he did not react the way a good parent should. Dale was so furious that he told her that he would be calling his mother to see if someone actually cared about his feelings. Dale's mother handed his butt back to him good and reiterated to Dale that he was not an active part in his son's life until he was 6, so he has no leg to stand on. Dale tried to complain about how everyone was being unfair to him. She shut him up and told him that his son did something wrong, and this is not about punishing him for being a bad father. Dale returned home a little while ago, about an hour earlier than he usually does. He looked defeated, but he was still short with me. Said he was disappointed that I posted and now everyone who knows will think he's a joke and a bad father. I didn't think this conversation would end up with my ending the engagement and relationship, but it did. The house is all in my name, so Dale is packing up his things and crawling back to his mom's house. The wedding wasn't set, so no money or time lost there. Dale said so many things that I don't even want to write down. This is not the man who I have known for 4 years. And I'm honestly shocked at how selfish he is. He said my doctor money would have to buy Rex a car to make up for all the hard feelings. I am astonished at how delusional he is. I am done with his account and will not be returning. Edit to add that also, the fact he wasn't in Rex's life till age 6 was a huge red flag to me. He never mentioned it and refused to admit it was a big deal during the argument we had when he came home. Sending internet hugs, OP. Sorry for something so important to end over something so stupid and ridiculous. At least it showed you before you were too committed what you were getting into. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking my car back, causing my sister to lose her job? In January, my sister Jan, 28, had her car broke down and had to be scrapped. My sister works an hour's drive away from her apartment, and there are no public transit options to get her to and from work. She was denied a car loan for bad credit, along with not being able to afford to put any money down, and things were looking pretty dire. I'm the only person in the family with good enough credit to get a decent car loan, so my parents talked me into taking the loan out and registering the car under my name. The deal was that Jan would give me the money to pay for everything, insurance, monthly payments, etc. And when the car was paid off, I would transfer the title to my sister. This has been the biggest headache. Jan has gone months without paying me at all, and when she does, she is always short and making excuses. The truth is, I'm essentially paying for the car plus insurance for my sister, with a promise of reimbursement. My parents have also promised to make up the difference at some point, but I doubt that will happen. It has been 2 months since Jan has paid me, and it is again looking like I will have to pay this month's payment out of my own pocket. I am so sick of this, and told Jan last week that I want to be paid in full by that Friday or I would be taking the car and selling it. She just disingenuously apologized and promised super seriously to have the money to me that week. Friday rolled around and she had ignored all my texts and calls. I had my girlfriend drive me out to her apartment, and I told her to hand the keys to the car over or I would call the police and report it stolen. The car is legally my property and I'm done paying out of pocket so she can have a car. She told me she had shifts all weekend and that she would be fired if she could not go. I told her I don't care, and then she threatened to sue me. In the end, I got the car and listed it over the weekend. Jan lost her job last night for not showing 3 days in a row. The fact my parents or some other person could not drive her to work seems to escape her, as she and my parents have branded me the biggest a-hole on the planet. Now for the top comments. She wasn't even trying to make an effort to pay you back. It's your car, not the a-hole. I don't get these kinds of people. What do they honestly expect from people doing them ridiculously huge favors? If someone did something like that for me, I can't imagine just ghosting them and going so long without a payment. Even if I was legitimately strapped for cash, I would pay whatever pathetic sum I could.
Even if I keep on getting more and more behind, I can at least show my genuine desire to pay and appreciate the favor done for me. The answer is they are a-holes and they think everyone would screw them over like they screw people over. So they have zero issues with it. Not the a-hole. Driving an hour each way for work costs a lot of money, no matter how fuel efficient the car is. If, after 6 months, your sister couldn't make this pay, perhaps she either needed to move closer to work or find a job closer to home. In any case, it wasn't up to you to subsidize her attempt. But if you took the car back Friday and she didn't get your parents to pay you something that night, well, it sounds like maybe they weren't as upset about this as they claim. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not honoring all of her wishes? Backstory. My husband and I separated 2 years ago. At first, we hated each other. It got better this past year. We spoke, we're friends, we both still loved each other. He passed on September 15th. As his wife, no one would speak to his girlfriend. We'll call her Avery. She called me, upset that no one would speak to her. Coroner, police, no one. After speaking to the coroner, I can understand why she doesn't want me to be the one in charge. Avery has given 2 separate stories regarding his passing. This is also the second time she has went through this exact same situation. 3 years ago with her deceased husband and now mine. So I'm already on edge. I've spoken to his, we will call him Landon, family, and they don't know her really and have only spoken to her via Facebook/FaceTime. They do not get along very well and she hasn't really wanted to get to know them. I don't know much about Avery, just what I've been able to learn in the past 4 days in speaking with her. I know she's hurting. I know she's grieving. I'm taking this a lot harder than I thought I would be, and maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know. I'm not sure how to handle this. Avery's mother called me the day I found out about Landon's death and asked me to check my life insurance policy and make sure it would still pay even without the cause of death. This was before the coroner gave a reason and before I even mentioned the life insurance. The DC says, unknown pending investigation, or something to that effect. I don't have it yet. She's trying to push us all out of every aspect of his memorial, even though I'm paying for it. I dropped the policy after a year and is going against Landon's wishes. He didn't want a burial, but a cremation and a small memorial then mixed with his parents. Avery sent a message yesterday asking me to see if the morgue would give me Landon's thumbprint. She wouldn't give a reason. She wants to have the memorial at her church with only pictures of the 2 of them, not his family or me and him. I can understand, but didn't understand why his family and friends would be there since she doesn't know them. She wants me to ask for a lock of his hair. She wants to display his ashes in the same Amish box that her husband was in. I said no. I think that's just distasteful. Now I'm being called and messaged by her family and her, saying how I'm trying to take over and that I shouldn't have a say in any of this. I'm not. I did ask for her input and help. I countered with the fact that I'm paying for it all and that I am still his wife and have a 20-year history with Landon. They argued that this wasn't about me. It's not. It's about Landon. But it's about Avery and Landon. Their life together, 1 year, and have nothing to do with it. And that they don't know why I'm so upset over him passing or being involved. And I'm an a-hole for not honoring Avery's wishes and letting her have what she wants for her boyfriend. Am I the a-hole in this situation? Now for the top comments. She had a previous husband die in a similar way? There's a pending investigation on your late husband's death. She's given 2 different stories? Inquiring about life insurance policy. Maybe I just watched too much true crime, but this sounds suspicious as heck. It's not just you. It sounds very suspicious to me as well, and to his family. We think this is one of the reasons she's trying to push us completely out of everything. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry, but Avery has no standing here. She can grieve him privately, but she's out of line for trying to claim his remains and co-opt his memorial. The entire story sounds sketchy AF. And while you skirt around it, is there an implication she could be involved in his passing? Honestly, block this woman. Don't talk to her at all. And if she has questions about his estate, refer her to your lawyer. You knew Landon for decades. You still are in contact with his family. You are the ones who should be planning whatever comes next. The entire story sounds sketchy AF, and while you skirt around it, is there an implication she could be involved in his passing? To answer directly, yes, I believe so. Avery gave 2 accounts of what happened. To the deputy coroner, she said that they arrived at her mom's house at 3 a.m. and Landon went to bed. She stated that she left at 6 a.m., came back at 10 a.m. and found him in the same position and discovered he had passed. To me, They got to the home at midnight, stayed up talking to her mom. They went to bed at 3 a.m. and when she woke up at 10 a.m., she found him deceased beside her. The deputy coroner also told me that they found at least 10 different IDs, social security cards and bank cards, on him in his pockets when they got there. I know this man. He always emptied his pockets before he went to sleep and would put his wallet and anything he had in his pockets, except for his phone, in his slippers or shoes. He did this every night, no matter where we were. Update. Am I the a-hole for canceling a trip because my fiance's ex and her baby are coming? Original post. I, female 32, have been with Kyle, male 37, for 2.5 years. We got engaged 6 months ago. Kyle has been divorced for over 5 years now. He was married to Elena, female 37. They have a son, Grayson, male 8. Elena has a toddler from a guy she met after her divorce and dated briefly. Ella, female 2.5. Grayson is a wonderful little kid. He has his room in our house and he is so loved by all of us. Kyle and Elena are good friends and co-parenting great. The problem I have is she is everywhere. Beside holidays and birthdays, which I understand, Christmas, Grayson's birthday, Thanksgiving, Elena and her baby are pretty much invited to any family functions, such as Kyle's birthday, Kyle's parents' anniversary, my birthday. Yes, Kyle invited her to my birthday, even our camping trips. I've talked to Kyle many times, but he thinks I'm being insecure for no reason and making a big deal about nothing. I booked a trip to Mexico for January for me, Kyle, and Grayson. Then, Kyle told Elena that on the last week of January, we will have Grayson for extra weeks since he is coming with us to Mexico. Apparently, Elena managed to ask him about our trip dates. Details. As on Facebook, she was posting about swimsuit shopping for upcoming trip. Kyle texted her and asked her if she is going somewhere that week too. She said she researched our hotel and I took advantage of the same deal as you guys. So I guess we will see you there. Haha. I told Kyle then we are canceling the trip and he said he can't because tickets are non-refundable. I told him that I'm not going. I want for once have a family vacation without his ex-wife. I want a family vacation without his ex-wife, but Kyle thinks there's nothing we can do now. We need to address this for future plans and be more clear about boundaries. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Why are you with this guy again? I know it can't be because he's that good in bed. No way in hell. Or maybe he is, and that's why his ex is still into him. He's got her hypnotized too. You don't have kids with Mr. Have My Cake and Eat It Too. You can walk away. I would strongly suggest doing so. Because they're not just co-parenting. He's banging her. OMG, I laughed really hard at the first part. No, he is not. Lol. He is okay, but not great. Overall, he is a very kind and loving man. He just can't say no, and his ex walks all over him. No, I don't have kids, and I'm seriously thinking about ending this before it's too late. Because I'm nosy, why did they get divorced? If it's kid-related stuff, fine. But the rest? Is he actually inviting her, or is she inviting herself, and he doesn't like saying no? Don't marry him unless he starts having boundaries with her, or this will be the rest of your life. Not the a-hole. He got divorced because, as Elena said, they became roommates, even sleeping separately for years. They went for counseling for a long time, but they both decided it was not working out. Kyle moved out, trial separation, then they got divorced. She met another guy, got pregnant almost right away, then broke up with him when their baby was an infant. Not the a-hole. There's good co-parenting and there's this. It's nice that they're friends, that they and you are great with Grayson. But you not getting any alone time will drive you apart. And Elena's reveling in it. Elena is a single mom and probably wants to get back with Kyle. This isn't right. Your boyfriend is not looking after you properly. He needs to back up, or this will not work for you and Kyle. Kyle basically has 2 wives at this point. Opie needs to put her foot down, and he needs to grow a spine. My husband's ex would show up right after he left for work, at 6 a.m. She would bring me donuts, start cleaning and folding the kids' clothes, asking me my intentions with her ex-husband, since they clearly are still united in effort, blah blah blah. It was bizarre, but the donuts were nice. I could do without her just walking through the door though. Now for the update. First of all, thank you for every single comment. I read all of them. Kyle came home late last night since he was working on a project with his coworker. He saw me awake and got surprised and asked, "Is everything okay?" I said, "We need to talk." I basically told him that either he tells Elena to cancel her trip and establishes boundaries, or we are done. He said, "Oh my god, are you still on this? I'll talk to her for future events. Let it go for Pete's sake." I said, "No, this has been my life since we met. She and her baby are always in my hair. I get upset, you convince me to let it go this time, then it happens again. I reminded him that last June, we hosted Elena's baby's birthday at our backyard and paid for and did everything, and he told me to let it go. Where is the limit? Will she be invited to our wedding and be in a bridal party? Will she be at our honeymoon? Will she be at the delivery room when I give birth? He said, we are both tired. Why don't we talk tomorrow? I told him I can't wait until then. Will you ask Elena to cancel her trip and tell her about my boundaries? He said, I can't make her do anything as she's no longer my wife. I can tell her you don't like her and you can't stand her. Happy? I said, I don't feel like I'm ever gonna be your wife. She's more your wife than I'll ever be. She just doesn't like to put out, so you got me for that. That's how I feel. I feel so unloved. If we break up and Elena takes you back, would you get back together with her? He said, stop. You know how much I love you. Why are you saying these nonsense? I asked again and again. He said, what do you want me to say? That if I'm single, will I work things out with Elena? I guess. I got my answer. I gave him the ring and said, I'll leave tomorrow morning. He said, what? Are you serious? What is going on tonight? He started saying how we were gonna get married and have babies. He knows I left my previous boyfriend because he didn't want to get married, and he begged me to not leave before the holidays. He suggested staying and starting counseling in January. I told him, I really don't have energy or time for this. He started crying. I was awake all night crying on and off. In the morning, he made me breakfast and hugged me, which was so uncomfortable, and said, please don't end it permanently. Let's be in touch and work on our relationship. I told him, no, I just can't. Sorry. Again, he cried and left for work. I talked to my brother in the morning, and he and his girlfriend will let me stay with them until I find my place. I wrapped the Christmas gifts, for Grace and mostly and him, and left them under the tree so they can open them on Christmas morning. He asked if I'd at least join them for Christmas morning. I said no. As for the tickets, they were on my credit card. I'll call Air Canada today to see if I can transfer them to my brother and his girlfriend. I'm so grateful for letting me stay at their place. Sorry commenting again, but he legit wanted to paint you as the bad guy and say you didn't like her, instead of telling her that she was overstepping. Damn OP. I'm calling it now. He'll get back together with her. Heal yourself from this relationship so you'll never accept crumbs for a relationship. That's what hit me the most. I'm gonna tell her you hate her and cannot stand her, instead of telling her that I'm his future wife and respect her boundaries. Throwing me in front of the bus. Wondering how his ex would react. Lol, I was thinking the same thing. She may be like, oh damn, I was just having fun stringing him on a bit and screwing with him, but now that OP has dumped him, he's going to be all up in my business 24/7. She may be getting exactly what she deserves too. Depending on what the ex-wife's motives are here, she may be like, dude, you never told me I was crossing a line. If you would have said I was making OP uncomfortable, I would have backed off. I thought you both wanted me there. Are you stupid? You better get her back ASAP, because I don't want you back. Or she may have gotten what she wanted all along, which is her ex-husband back, of course not acknowledging that the same problems that existed before are going to be right back. OMG, I'm so thrilled you nailed this before a wedding or a pregnancy. You were, indeed, just going to be third-wheeling in their prefab world. You deserve better. Go get it. Except Elena doesn't want to be in an actual relationship with him. I think she wants the relationship but not the sex. That seems to be what the whole situation is implying. And that if Elena had more sex with him, OP's ex wouldn't have split from his wife. That's what I took from that. Or he was trying to create a sister-wives thing. One is his emotional wife and the other is his bangmaid. So thank God OP broke up. No one should stay where they aren't loved. Well, according to OP in comments on her previous post, he isn't very good in bed, and she needs a toy to finish. So that may be why Elena doesn't want the intimacy part. Heck, OP said she was with him because he's a really nice and kind person. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ghosting my girlfriend of 8 years and not giving her money for our trip? So about 2 months ago, me and my girlfriend of 8 years took a trip together to Europe for 2 weeks. It was an amazing vacation and we had an incredible time. But after we returned, she started acting increasingly distant from me. She went to a wedding and had a +1 but didn't invite me or tell me about it until a few days before. Then she ignored my calls while I was away on a business trip and never texted to return them until after I got back. When she finally picked up, I asked her what happened in a very nonchalant and unaccusatory way, and she didn't give any sort of solid answer. When I pressed her about it, she always gets upset at me if I don't call her back, even if it's just like an hour later. She just screamed at me, "I didn't feel like talking to you. How about I never talk to you again?" And hung up. Tried calling her back, she didn't pick up. Sent her a text a day or two later, no response. At this point, something inside me just kind of broke. Like, we've had fights way bigger than this, and I've always tried to patch it up with her because I was head over heels for her. But this time it was as if the in-love feeling just vanished instantly. I think it was because her reaction was so unprovoked. 3 weeks later, she calls me and I freeze. I don't pick up. She starts sending angry messages telling me I better pick up or else, and accuses me of cheating. I didn't. I don't pick up because I know it's going to be an absolute crap show of a phone call. Another 2 weeks have passed, and I've kind of accepted that the relationship is over. But I feel guilty about not paying her back for the trip. We used her card while traveling abroad because mine has a foreign transaction fee. The trip was expensive, about $20,000 total, $10,000 of which has already been split. Stuff we booked before traveling. Essentially, I owe her roughly $5,000. Before the fight, I had mentioned, at least on 3 occasions, that we should sort out our finances for the trip, and if she wanted, she could send me her credit card statement and I would sort through it myself and then pay her back. However, she kept brushing it off and said we'd do it later. Regardless of how she acted, I'm a person that believes in always paying back what is owed ASAP, and I'm feeling guilty about it. Like, I literally will always Venmo people before they leave my sites. So my question is this: if we never talk again and I never pay her back, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. It's better to close out this chapter so you can start fresh. It also closes the door and doesn't allow her to use that as an excuse to try to get back in touch once her affair partner leaves her. And just find a way so that you don't have to be in direct contact with her for the funds transfer. I agree. You want to walk out of this clean and be done. I would send her a message requesting an itemized total of what you owe with receipts or credit card statements. If she doesn't make your best guess, and if you are feeling petty, send 75%. I think it is best to annihilate the ties that she can use to try to drag you back into contact. But you can probably duck paying her back if you want to. I'll defer the part about paying back the money as that has been addressed. However, I don't get it. 8 years together and then an enjoyable trip, presumably, and then poof, out of nowhere ghosting you? Something is not adding up. Even though suggesting cheating. But when? On the trip? OP, after 8 years, you should know her well enough to suspect what's going on. What do you think happened, if you had to guess? Everyone is jumping to cheating, but I wonder if she's pregnant. Either that or she expected a proposal. Now that I look at that, probably the latter. Especially if she was the one spending all the money on the trip. Edit. Thanks everyone for the input. I did read everyone's comments, but unfortunately I don't have time to reply to all of them. Most people are saying I should pay her back, though a good number are saying not to. I think I'm going to offer to pay her back one last time, via text. So there's a record of it. My previous attempts were just over phone calls. Many people suggested I just give her $5,000, which I think is my fault because I made it seem like it was pretty close to that amount. But in actuality, it might be anywhere between $30,000 to $7,000. And I don't feel comfortable ballparking it in case I overpay or underpay. As I said, thousands of dollars is significant to me, but nothing to her. So I think I'm just going to ask her to send her credit card statement and that we both go over it separately to determine the amount. Also, lots of people said she's upset because I didn't propose on the trip. That isn't it. We've discussed marriage. She wasn't ready, and I had told her that I wouldn't propose again until after she told me she was ready. Last story. I blocked my now ex-girlfriend after finding out she was engaged and didn't tell me. But she's depressed right now. Just want to get this off my chest because this has been a whirlwind. My now ex-girlfriend, female 28, recently distanced herself from me, male 26, due to mental health issues. Of course, I was very concerned about this and tried to stay supportive without pressuring her during a tough time in her life. We slowly stopped talking. The relationship was newer, so I didn't know her friends very well. I decided to find their social media to see if I can stay in contact with them for updates about her well-being. My ex-girlfriend had told me during our 6 months that she doesn't use social media. When I found her friends online, I also found out that my ex does have social media and uses it regularly. To my surprise, I find out she has been engaged to someone since 2019. When checking public records, her fiancé's primary address was listed the same as hers. I was shocked and asked her about these things, despite her mental state. She denied the relationship and said they broke it off in 2020, to which I presented her with a photo of them in 2022. She told me she always lived alone and bought her place out of interest for seeing new areas, not living with a fiancé. She said I was being crazy and said it's none of my business. She told me to leave her alone, and I said gladly, to which she wildly kept on talking. I think she panicked and realized she was losing part of her support system. Part of me is shocked, happy, and relieved to have found a truth and GTFO of there before I get myself into a mess with this person. But part of me feels terrible for leaving her when she's struggling and most likely adding to it. I guess I will never know what the full truth is, or if she was even struggling. Am I a terrible person for doing this? When she's struggling and most likely adding to it. Sounds like she's the one throwing herself in over her head and then expecting others to pull her out. She lied. She got caught. She isn't willing to face the consequences, not the a-hole. I feel awful because I did genuinely want to help her during this time and be there for her. So that part kind of still stings and makes me feel guilty. I'm working on it. That's what her fiancé is for. Lol, valid. I'm happy to let him deal with that mess of a person. She gaslit and lied to you. That's messed up, dude. Isolate and work on yourself and your happiness. She dug her own hole by lying. Did you try and reach out to the fiancé? I did not, but I want to so badly. I feel terrible for the guy and I feel like he should know, but I don't want to create more problems. I would have never started a relationship with her had I known. Not sure how to approach that or if I should. I'd want to know if I was the guy she was about to marry. I'm sure you would too. Provide as much proof as you can and don't bring it up in an attacking way. This is a vulnerable and uncomfortable situation for both you and him. Was it an online-only interaction? I definitely would want to know. You're right. I don't have too much physical evidence. After blocking her and deleting our messages, I don't have much proof left to give, unfortunately. Now for the mini update. Did contact the fiancé. We'll let you know what happens if he responds.